I do think that this demonizing of people who are different is part of the purity culture of cults that we're seeing on large scale in America right now. And it's part of this, even more than the purity culture, it's the don't stand out, right? In any kind of high control organization, your job is to not stand out, right? In the US Army, we say, all you have to do to be successful is be in the right place, in the right time, in the right uniform, and never volunteer for anything, right? Don't stand out. This is why neurodivergent children or disabled children of any kind have a lot harder of a time in cults, because you're not supposed to stand out. This is why women automatically have a harder time in the military, because you're not supposed to stand out, right? Like, that's the number one rule. Good women in America, you're supposed to be quiet, skinny, and a light shade of beige. Right? We like to say that America is a melting pot, but it's really, really not. You are not supposed to stand out. And as soon as you start standing out, you start getting these repercussions. And this is why cults are harmful. So I think all of the focus on trans people, right? You need an outside enemy, autistic people, neurodivergent people, like, why are you standing out, right? There's this purity culture to it. You're supposed to be this perfect person in the cult. But I do want to go back to telling y'all that, like, when you spool up into a full panic over crazy things the administration says, it's not helpful. Are they going to logistically be able to put any percentage, even 1% of American, that's 3 million people, into camps? How? Explain the logistics of it. He's talking about it, just like there were people talking about martial law. The logistics, the size of America and the amount of people that we have is going to prevent them from doing most of what they want to do. Just the size and the logistics. So that always has to be part of the threat assessment, because I remind you, being in panic helps the other guys win, helps the tyrants. This was my job in the military, to assess the operation and then to be prepared to give you the most likely, here's what we think is going to happen, the most dangerous. The most dangerous is always scary. Right? You're looking, in my case, pilots in the eye and crew and telling them exactly all of the ways they might just float in the air today, right? It's scary. You don't stay there. You go there briefly, you think about what you would do, then you think about the logistics and the operations, and then you go back to the most likely. Okay, so there's this reputation right now that I'm supposedly telling everyone to not freak out. Yeah, I want you to not freak out about very near impossible things that aren't likely to happen. You can put them on your threat assessment. You could think about, what would you do if RFK came for your late diagnosed autistic behind? Because I would immediately start running all kinds of shenanigans with all the other late diagnosed autistic women and all the things that we know how to do. But I don't stay there planning said shenanigans. I let myself pause and go, okay, there would be ways I could fight back. There would be things I would have to do. There would be, how am I going to defend my own child if something like this starts, right? But then you come back to the real world and you put your operations plan together with the actual most likely course of action. The most likely course of action is RFK is not going to build anything. Even building a list of people to put in camps, prohibitive because of size and logistics and how many people we have. Even building his little list would take longer than 4 years. Unarming Americans, someone did the math. If we were all standing in line right now, it would take 66 years to disarm Americans. So when you let yourself go into crazy land of most dangerous course of action, you go there, you look around, you say, what would I do? I like to say I'm the fairy threat mother. Congratulations, it has happened. They're walking through putting autistic people in camps right now. What are you going to do about it? You can stay there for about 5 minutes, and then you need to come back to the real world. And you need to operate with what's actually happening and think about what you can actually affect. Because the reason that panic works for tyrants, the reason why cult leaders always want you in an apocalypse, is because when you think something really huge and bad is coming, you tend to think there's nothing you can do about it. And there's a lot we can do about this administration that is having a 93% failure rate with anything they've tried. I'm Daniela, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership. I wrote a book about growing up in the Children of God religious cult where I always stood out, and then going into the cult of the U.S. Army where I always stood out. You can get signed copies attached here.